So good evening, everyone, and welcome to this council meeting. It's also all committees. In the summer, we just have one meeting in July and one meeting in August. And so it's all committees and then council as well to ratify all of the things that we've discussed. So today is Monday, July 14th, and this is meeting number 11 of 2025. We have regrets this evening from Councillor Trombetta, who's off on vacation to Italy, and Councillor Riley is actually going to try to come in online if he's able to do so. That will be a wait-and-see kind of situation, I think. Will you please stand, if you're able, for the singing of O Canada tonight by Gainsborough Public School. Gainsborough. We need some sound there. You have to listen very carefully. So thank you for indulging in the sound not being very good. We made it a point of reaching out to our local schools. We had originally just the high school, the Christian high school, presenting O Canada, and then we added on Cairn. And then we reached out again to all of the other local schools. And so we now, in rotation, do the schools that have sent us their version. If you haven't been watching our meetings, there's another local school that actually they're using their ukuleles and singing along. They're quite good if you're interested in watching children. I get quite a joy out of that, I think, as do the rest of council. So before starting this meeting, I'd like to make the following announcements. Comments from the public for a matter that is on the agenda may be provided in person by attending the meeting and advising the chair during the request to address an item on the agenda section of the agenda. You'll hear that later on this evening. For those individuals that are unable to attend the meeting in person, you may submit comments for matters that are on the agenda by either 1, emailing jpaylove@westlincoln.ca before 4:30 on the day of the meeting. Comments submitted will be considered as public information and read into the public record. Or 2, by contacting the clerk's department to request a Zoom link to attend the meeting virtually. And 3, this meeting will be live streamed as well as recorded and available on the Township's website by visiting events West Lincoln/meetings. So we begin our meeting this evening, as is our custom, with the land acknowledgement statement. The Township of West Lincoln, being part of the Niagara region, is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Hattawindarock, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. There are many First Nations, Métis, and, of course, I lost my spot there as I turned the page, and Inuit from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The Township of West Lincoln, as part of the regional municipality of Niagara, stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. And Councillor Bradrick, you have the opening petition this evening.
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor. And just a quick note to the clerk that Councillor Riley is online. He's texting me that he's present.
Oh, good. Thank you for letting us know.
Yes. We meet to serve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognize our responsibilities to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, may we act wisely and well.
Thank you, Councillor. So the first item of business this evening is a public meeting, and I'm sure that's why many of you are in attendance. This is a public meeting to consider an application for a zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision submitted by Upper Canada Consultants, agent consultant, on behalf of RVL Contracting, Inc., owner. The proposal is to create 6 rural residential lots on Regional Road 12, file number 1601-002-25, zoning bylaw amendment, and file number 2000-001-25, draft plan of subdivision. The Planning Act requires in Section 34, subsection 12, and Section 39 that before passing a zoning bylaw amendment, council must hold at least one public meeting for the purpose of informing the public in respect of the application. The purpose of this meeting is to receive comments and answer questions from the public regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment. We stress that at this point, no decision has been made on the proposed amendment, and any comments received will be taken into account by council in their consideration. In accordance with the Planning Act and the minister, the applicant or specified person, public body, or registered landowner of any land to which bylaw amendment will apply, who made oral submission at a public meeting or written submissions to council prior to the adoption and/or passage of the bylaw, may appeal the bylaw amendment to the Ontario Land Tribunal. So I'm now going to ask the clerk to please advise us of the method and dates by which notice of the public meeting was given.
Proper notice was given by way of email circulation to agencies and mail circulation to all residents within 120 meters of the subject property on June 13th, 2025. Public notice was also posted to the subject property, the Township website, and the Township Administration Building on June 13th, 2025.
Thank you very much. So will the Manager of Community Planning and Design, Susan Smythe, please explain the purpose and reason for the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? Susan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Committee and Council, and those members here in the public this evening. So the information report that's been presented is for Thank you. Is for a proposal for draft plan of subdivision and zoning bylaw amendment, as noted, submitted by the consultants Upper Canada. And I am joined here by the agent, Ethan, who will also be presenting following my presentation. On behalf of the owners, the applicant RVL Contracting, Inc. The site is vacant and it's located in the hamlet of Regional Road 12, east of Grimsby Road and north of Regional Road 20. The proposal is a rural subdivision containing 9 blocks. 6 of them are for residential lots, 1 block for stormwater management, and 2 blocks for reserves along Regional Road 12. The proposal seeks to rezone the lands from the Development D zone to a site-specific rural residential zone, an open space zone for the stormwater management pond. The site-specific request is for reduction of the lot frontage from the required 45 meters of the zoning bylaw to 18 meters for 4 out of the 6 proposed lots. The proposed lots will have access and frontage onto a future internal public road. The development is proposing private septic and water cistern type services. The proposal is also providing a dry stormwater management facility and will utilize grass road side swales as well. Please note that the applicant has named the development as Joshua Court. However, this name for a proposed public street has not been approved and will require council approval at a future date. For some context of the site, it is approximately 4.27 hectares with lot frontage of 194.36 meters on Grimsby Road. Majority of the lands are within the hamlet boundary, with the exception of approximately 1.1 hectares, which just lies outside of the boundaries, and the lands have been historically used for agricultural purposes. In support of these applications, a number of technical studies were required to be completed, including an environmental impact study, which was to confirm drainage features, an environmental noise study to identify any potential impact of transportation noise from Grimsby Road, which is the regional road, as well as stationary noises from the surrounding commercial uses. A hydrogeological assessment was completed to confirm the adequacy of the lot sizes to accommodate the private septic services and any potential for groundwater impacts. A stormwater management was completed to identify the preferred method, that being a dry storm pond, to manage the drainage runoff from the road and the proposed new lots. An archaeological assessment was completed and concluded that there are no archaeological resources or potential and no further investigation is necessary. Agency comments have been appended to this report, and the Conservation Authority, as well as our Infrastructure Department, had noted that further information is required on the legal outlet from the site, and potentially an easement over private lands will need to be secured. Fire Services has indicated that a 10,000-liter fire cistern is required for this development. A member of the public had provided comments as well, requiring further information on import of fill if it's required, potential storm pond overflows, what is the zoning change and the size of the lots, and any potential impacts to the natural environment. I can, however, comment on behalf of the staff. There was questions concerning First Nations engagement, and the township had engaged the First Nations communities on 2 separate occasions, once in February with the initial circulation of the applications, and again in June to notify them of this public meeting. To date, no comments have been received. So I would like to also reiterate that the details of this report are for information only, and at no time decisions are being made, and the concerns and comments on the proposal will need to be ironed out to satisfy staff, the commenting agencies, and public before a recommendation can be brought forward in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Meyer. So I'm now going to ask if the applicant or their authorized agent is present and wishes to speak to this. Okay, so we do have a presenter spot. Whenever you're ready.
So good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Ethan Lamont. I'm a senior planner with Upper Canada Consultants, representing RVL Contracting, the applicant for the development applications being considered tonight. I'll go through a brief presentation to provide an overview of the proposal, and then I'll be available for questions afterwards. So to begin, I'd like to provide some context for the subject site. So the slide shows an aerial image of the subject property outlined in blue. The property is located on the west side of Grimsby Road, or Regional Road 12, just north of Highway 20. It's partially located in the hamlet of Allen's Corners, which is shown in brown on the slide. The lands are adjacent to a variety of other land uses, including agricultural uses to the north and east, single detached dwellings to the west, and rural, commercial, and industrial uses to the west and south. The lands themselves are currently used for production of field crops and do not contain any buildings or structures. The property encompasses a total area of 4.27 hectares with a total frontage of 194.4 meters along Grimsby Road 12, along Grimsby Road, divided between 2 segments. And about 74% of the property, or 3.17 hectares, with 121 meters of frontage, is located in the hamlet boundary. The remaining 1.1 hectares and 72.5 meters of frontage is located outside of the hamlet in the agricultural area. So moving on to the details of the development, the application proposes the residential development of the portion of the lands within the hamlet boundary. It's important to note that no development is proposed outside of the hamlet. As shown in the slide, the proposed development includes the creation of a new public road, 6 single detached lots ranging in size from 0.4 to 0.56 hectares, or 1 to 1.38 acres, and a dry pond for stormwater management. A draft plan of subdivision application has been submitted to permit the proposed land division. A zoning bylaw amendment has also been submitted to implement the proposed land uses. Currently, the portion of the property within the hamlet is zoned as development, which requires the passage of a zoning bylaw amendment to permit new uses to be established. So the submitted zoning bylaw amendment seeks to rezone the 6 lots to rural residential, which is consistent with the zoning of the other single detached lots within the hamlet. A site-specific frontage is proposed for lots 3 to 6 due to their unique configuration, but all of the other rural residential zone provisions are being maintained. The stormwater management block is proposed to be zoned as open space, and the remnant lands are proposed to retain their existing agricultural zoning. So turning briefly to the planning policy framework that supports the applications. So as noted, the proposal affects the portion of the property within the Allen's Corner hamlet. The provincial planning statement directs that hamlets, or rural settlements as they're also called, are to be the focus of growth in rural areas. The Niagara official plan permits limited growth in hamlets and requires development to be sustained on private services. In the Township of West Lincoln, official plan states that residential uses are given priority over other uses in hamlets. The Township official plan also requires a minimum lot size of 1 acre within hamlets and requires multiple new lots to be created through a plan of subdivision. So the proposal conforms with these requirements. The creation of 6 single detached lots in Allen's Corner represents limited and context-appropriate growth that's compatible with the existing land uses. The lots are all 1 acre or greater in area, which provides sufficient lot size to accommodate private sewage and water systems to sustain the residential uses. And a draft plan of subdivision has been submitted, which aligns with the township policy. So a number of technical studies were also completed for the proposed development to meet functional or technical policy criteria. These include an archaeological assessment, a noise study, an environmental impact study, hydrogeological assessment, and stormwater management report. I'm not going to go through the findings of each report individually, but each of the studies was prepared by a qualified professional and supports the proposed development from various technical, environmental, and servicing perspectives. So that concludes my presentation. Thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, so stand by, please, because eventually I'm sure there will be some questions. We're going to turn in this public meeting now to public submissions. So I'm going to ask, are there any oral or written submissions from anyone present at this meeting, either in person or on Zoom, regarding the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? I would like to stress that this may be the only public meeting with respect to this application. So if you're attending virtually and would like to provide comments, you can do so by using one of the 2 options. One option is using a computer or a smartphone. Select the raise your hand control that can be found on the Zoom options list displayed on your screen. The second option is using a landline or telephone to dial 9 or *9. This will notify staff that you've raised your hand. And once you've been acknowledged to speak, whether it's in person at this gathering this evening or online, to unmute your microphone if you're in person and come to the microphone if you're here and you want to speak personally. So I guess, Ethan, I'll just ask you to take your seat again for a minute, and we'll see if there are any members of the public. Kevin, is there anyone online that you see that we need to deal with?
Not seeing any, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll move then to any members of the public that would like to speak this evening to this application. This is your opportunity to say what you'd like to say or ask questions. So please come to just give your name, sir, and make sure the microphone's on so that we capture it.
Chris Giftopoulos.
Okay, Chris, go ahead.
I live in the middle house there. I'm just worried about drainage. My land is kind of low compared to the other ones. I'm already having that problem. I spent a few thousand taking care of it, eliminated the floods. And I'm just wondering if my floods are going to start happening again, because the land on the other side, on the west side of the highway that they built homes on, you can see the homes are a lot higher than the front rows on the street. So I assume that's what's going to happen back here. They're going to be raised. Is that going to affect? I know that you're getting drainage, but is that just from the street? What about, coming off the house and onto the ground? Because I was getting flooded just from the 2 houses, just from the 2 lands there, coming down and hitting my place.
Okay, so the reason that we have a public meeting is so that issues like that can be brought to the attention of staff and to the developer. And so those are the kinds of things that we do want to hear about, so that those concerns can be looked into before an application is approved. So I don't think there's an answer tonight, unless our director would like to try that. I'm sure that if you can just reassure this gentleman, Director, that those are the kinds of things that will be taken into consideration.
Yeah, through the mayor to this member of the public, Chris, that's definitely something we look at through this process. They're trying to make it so that they don't have to raise up the property and they'll drain it on the back. They're still looking at the stormwater options, but that's something we're looking at with them right now.
See, right now, there's, in the back of that 3 houses there, there's like a trough, let's say, where the water drains to the, you know, the little trench over there, natural, and one that comes on the other side. So that's all going to be kind of changed with the construction. So the water's got to drain somewhere, and it's going to go right into my place. So now let's say we do all the work, and then afterwards, it's still draining in my place. Now what do I do? Do I come here and say, hey, you know, I'll go to the office here, I got problems, I'm draining. Well, that's not us, you had to take care of that. That's why I'm here. I'm really worried about the drainage there. I've suffered enough with drain, you know, problems there. Floods, I don't know, 4 a year before I raised money to take care of that issue and that. So, and now that I've had no floods in 3 years, I'm sitting here, but the rain hasn't been that bad either. So, you know, cross my fingers. But that's my concern. So I want to be able to come back later and say, hey, it's not working, whatever you did, fix it. Is that going to happen?
So when a report comes back, it should come back to us in a few months. It won't come back immediately. It will come back to this committee, and all of those kinds of things should have been addressed in terms of working with the developer, working with staff, making sure they're looking at those issues. You have all the right people sitting beside you there. They've heard what you've had to say, and those kinds of things will be taken into consideration.
I understand RBL too is a good company. They're, you know, they like to do things right, so
Okay.
I like that about them. So it's all
That
good.
is the reputation that we've heard as well, so good.
Yeah.
Are you fine for tonight then, or do you?
No, I'm fine. I just wanted to make that point and raise it that I'm here. You know, I'm complaining before it happens.
Well, this is the time to complain before it happens, so
There
that
we go.
something can
Thanks a lot.
possibly be done. Thank you. Okay, is there another member of the public who wishes to speak? Come forward, please.
Hi,
Do
I'm
we-
Gary Davis. I've got,
Either we have an animal in the room or somebody's phone is making,
It's a seeing eye cat, sorry.
okay.
anyways, I farm the land just east of this property.
Just your name, please, for
Gary
the record.
Davis.
Thank you, Gary.
And there's a main drainage ditch that's going through 2 of these proposed lots. So that's going to have to be rerouted. So I don't know how you guys are going to do that. As long as you stay on your side, you know? It's a lot, so my problem is drainage too.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes right through my farm, and in the spring it is full. There's a lot of water comes down through there. So that's got to be rerouted. So I just want to know, when it comes time, how are you going to do that?
Any response,
That-
Director?
that's-
I would just say if everyone, if you have concerns about the drainage, because this is still something that they're working through,
Okay.
if you could just leave I don't know if we have a sign-in sheet. If
we
you
already
leave
did.
your name
Okay.
and number on that or email, then we at least have a way to get back to you once have a plan, so.
Okay,
Okay.
that's it.
That's it, Gary?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So I'm just going to go back to Chris. Is your name and number on the sign-in sheet as well, Chris? Okay. Yeah, there should be something for the meeting where people sign in when they come. Thank you. Okay, so is there anyone further who wishes to make a comment about this application? Okay, come forward, please. And again, your name, please, sir?
Dave Chappelle, older, whiter than, nowhere near as funny as a famous comedian with the same name. I submitted my questions probably within a few minutes of the deadline on July, whatever day it was, or June, whatever it was. Since then, I've had another one just thanks to the planner. He said, environmental and the noise levels are okay for those units, but what about surrounding units? That's one I hadn't thought of, as far as air conditioning and stuff like that. The rest of my questions are in writing. I submitted to
Okay.
My representative counselors and the other two folks. I'm sorry.
Okay, but you submitted in writing, so I'm sure
Yes.
that we have them, so
So
thank
they're
you for
there.
doing that.
So I'd like to just, and those will be answered before any of this goes
That
ahead.
will all be part. So whether things come in writing or whether they come in public at the public meeting, all of those things are taken into consideration.
Thank you. So the only one I want to add is the environmental noise.
Okay. I'm sure staff have made note of that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, once again, is there anyone else who has something they wish to add? I'll remind you that this could be the only public meeting on this issue. So if you're sitting with something in your mind and you're not sure whether you should get up, we're not frightening, we're just taking notes from people. Okay. Yes, you do.
I didn't hear what Dave said because I was there, and it's kind of muffled anyways, but, Chris Katopoulos here again. And
Thank you, Chris.
how is this going to affect my place? Is it good? Is it bad? What's the effects? You guys all must have figured that out.
Well, the application comes forward, and then they start to figure out those kinds of things. So, but generally speaking, something that's built that's quite nice, which often the RVL things are, can be very, very, I don't know, I guess I want to say, make your place look wonderful too. It becomes part of a smaller community,
Or-
as opposed to two things strung
Sorry.
along. Or the opposite could be true if you don't take care of your place, I suppose. But that's totally up to you.
Stop
But
reading my mind.
I'm making no judgment. I'm just saying, it really is up to the people who are in surrounding areas, especially in a hamlet. If you really want a sense of a small community within a larger community, it can be very beneficial, in my opinion, to have, new people come in.
What
But-
I'm trying to say in a soft way is, am I going to start getting increases? I got to pay more now?
No, that shouldn't happen to your property. Your property is assessed as your property, not as your
Not-
neighbor's.
Nothing to do with the neighbors or anything around my areas?
No.
Okay.
No. MPAC has not done an assessment since 2016. They are due at some point in time, to be back around. In 2016, whatever your property value was, it has not been reassessed. It may have gone up slightly over the years, as ours has, but it will be reassessed at some point by MPAC. And the fact that you have these houses around yours isn't going to affect yours. Quite honestly, I live on Rock Street, and there are lots of new big houses built at the end of my street where my home is 50 years old on that. So, what they have down and around the corner doesn't affect my property, so.
Okay.
But the assessment is not ours, the assessment is MPAC when they get to doing it again, so.
Who's doing that?
MPAC,
MPAC.
which is a government organization, yeah.
That's private or government? Government, of course. Cool.
Most things are, as you well know. Okay, so thank you. Okay. Last call for members of the public who wish to make a comment at this public meeting. Okay, I'm going to turn now then to members of the committee. So do any members of this committee have any oral or written submissions on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? Please note that members of the committee must make their comments now, as the OLT may not consider comments made at any other council or committee meeting. So, Councillor Bradrick, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I do have a quick question in regards to the important issue around drainage. So I'm not sure if it's for the planner or for the director, but I'll spout that off and see who wants to answer. So in the report that is being tabled later, I noted that there's a private swale that's going to be, I guess, proposed on the neighboring property, and I was unsure how we would guarantee that this would be maintained and legally obligated to remain there.
Okay, shall we start with Director Borma and see what he has to say? And if we need to, we can also go to the consultant.
Yes, through the mayor to Councillor Bradrick, we've given instruction to the applicant that if they wish to have this stormwater plan where the water drains across, I believe one of the resident was here speaking, they have to obtain a legal easement because we don't believe that is a legal outlet. Since there's no regulated feature there, it just crosses over farmland. So we've instructed if they wish to maintain this stormwater plan, which would work, they'll need to secure that easement for a legal outlet that then can carry on in perpetuity.
So if I, through
Go
you,
ahead,
Madam, if I could propose that, say, 10 years from now, it's not being maintained properly, the water isn't draining properly, and we have complaints from perhaps a gentleman that's here tonight, how do we ensure that the original builder who put in the swale will be obligated to come back and fix that?
So the township typically will collect security, as we would in this case, to ensure that the works are constructed according to the plan. And we would go out and inspect that to ensure that it was constructed according to the plan. And then we'd hold on to a portion of that security for a period of time, usually it's 1 year, to ensure that that work still complies with the plan a year after. But then following that, then it's on the township to assume that liability of that infrastructure. Even if it's in an easement, there'd be language that the township would be able to go in there and maintain it if required.
Okay, thank you. That's all my
Okay,
questions.
thank you. Councillor Majak.
Through you, Madam Mayor, just a question in regards to clarifying timelines, and I know they can vary, and the process can vary as well. But just for the residents that had concerns about the drainage, what would be the approximate timeline that there might be a drainage plan in place that you might be able to get back to them?
So through the mayor to Councillor Maychek, so we do have a drainage plan, but it's contingent on the applicants being able to secure that easement. So typically after this public meeting, they've heard all of the comments from public and committee members. They'll have an opportunity to reflect on those, provide responses, make modifications to their plan as needed, and then they'd come back. In this case, with the concerns around drainage, we want to inform those who have concerns before we take this back to committee. So it's hard to say. It depends on how quickly the applicant can turn around these comments. But maybe the applicant has some further comments on regarding stormwater.
So I see you're back in the chair, so would you like to comment on that further?
Sure.
Thank
Through you, Mayor, to the question, I think Garrett's covered it mostly. It is contingent on the stormwater management strategy. So we'll be working to get responses as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you. That's fine, okay. This side, Councillor Rayner?
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have a number of questions. First, I'd like to go to the manager. Ms. Smythe, with regards to the minor variance, I believe there was a minor variance. You mentioned that there was a frontage of something like 45 meters has to be reduced to 18 meters for 4 units. Am I correct, or have I heard that wrong?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Correct. The zoning bylaw, it's a site-specific bylaw that they're seeking. So it's development zone now, and it's going to a rural residential, which is typical to the balance of the surrounding area. And yes, the variance or the deviation of the lot frontage is from 45 meters to the 18. And the reason being is primarily because of the awkward configuration of the frontages of some of those lots. The 18 meters is essentially, now again, it's only 4 of them. So 2 of the lots will maintain those ones fronting Grimsby Road. It's the 4 on the interior of the proposed new public road that is seeking the decreased lot frontage. So 4 lots in total.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and there's 6 buildings in total, so
That is correct.
2/3 of them aren't meeting the specifications and the guidelines set out by the township, and they're asking for a variance to change that. Is that correct?
That is correct, for a single dwelling, so a single driveway, correct?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I brought this up before, that we have rules and guidelines, and then all of a sudden we've got to change our rules and guidelines, which takes the credibility and the reasoning behind those rules being established and kind of throws them out the window, which makes me feel uncomfortable. The other thing that this gentleman said that came forward, I believe this was agricultural land, and it's now going into residential. We've already expanded the urban boundary expansion, and now we're doing it out in the hamlets. A number of years ago, when I was first elected, the region was totally against expansion of anything in hamlets to protect the agricultural land, and now they just seem to say, not only are we going to expand in subdivisions in town, but we're going to make little subdivisions throughout the hamlets of the Township of West Lincoln, which really bothers me as somebody who likes to protect agriculture. Through you, Madam Chair, to our director, you said they require an easement in order to proceed with that. Is this correct?
Under the current stormwater management plan that they provided with the outlet, it's on the screen here, so the outlet at the very bottom left-hand corner, there's block 7 is the storm pond outlet at the very bottom left-hand corner. If they want to continue with this stormwater management plan, they'll need to secure that easement. There might be other options to handle stormwater if they're not able to secure that easement, but that might involve lifting up the property to change how the drainage works. They haven't explored that option to my knowledge yet, but if they're not able to secure that easement, this lotting configuration may still work, but they'd maybe have to change grades in a different way to get the drainage to flow in a different direction.
Thank you. Madam Chair, over to Garrett. That's the reason I'm asking this, was to me it kind of sets a precedent on where we're going and what direction we're going to, and I thought that would have been resolved before they come here today, because this is raising a lot of concern. Well, if it doesn't work, well, if they don't get it, well, why didn't you wait to see if you got it or not before you came to us? Because this is something that people in the audience aren't going to know what's going on until the next meeting, because it's a variable that's very important, and yet it hasn't been resolved at this time. So this seems like a little bit premature to me in order for that to continue. But the next question I have, in my last one, Madam Mayor, is with regards to this drainage. You said that the township will inspect the work when it's complete. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so taking that in mind, I take inspect, you can take it literally or you could take it figuratively. This gentleman has got concerned about drainage, and drainage is something that can be measured with a laser. So you can determine and not wait for a major storm to flood this poor man's basement. You can go out there and actually ensure that the slope is correct, that the capacity of wherever it's going to can handle something of a major 100-year flood or whatever. Will the township endeavor to check to make sure the accuracy of the lasers is correct, so that we don't have a situation like this poor gentleman said, if I got to come to you afterwards and said, hey, I came here and asked you and you said you'd look after it, but look what happened to my house. I am also trying to prevent him coming back and saying, look what happened to my house. Is there any way we can check? This is a very practical way to check with the laser to ensure that there are no questions. This drainage will work and it will go to where we want it, because we've got the numbers to prove that you are not going to have a problem.
Yeah, so
Director.
through the mayor to Council Rayner, there's basically 3 main steps. So there's the approval step, which we're in now, and we will continue to be if council grants draft plan approval. One of the requirements will be a full engineering submission. And they'll have to give us a grading plan, which they have already, but they might need some additional work based on the comments that shows that there's no impact to the surrounding, existing surrounding residential properties. So if there's water coming off of those existing residential properties that this development abuts to, that water will continue to have to flow off those properties, and this developer would have to capture those in their stormwater system. Once the development happens, and has the preliminary grading, they'll give to us a grading plan. So a surveyor will have gone out at that stage check all the grades to make sure they line up with the master grading plan. And then the third check is when the houses are being constructed, the building department actually ensures as well through additional survey work. So when each house is constructed, the surveyor goes out each time again after the house is constructed and checks the grade against the grading plan and the master grading plan to ensure that at each of those steps, the grading is not impacted or negatively impacted for any of those existing landowners, and that it meets the plan. So once the plan is finalized, there's a number of steps where a surveyor does go out, checks the grade, gives us that report and the grading plan, and then our staff will go out there and verify it, whether that's the manager of development engineering or the chief building official, depending on what stage we're at. So there's several checks. We did go through this on the other side as well. Not all of those properties have received final grading. This is on the Sunset Acres. And there were some concerns around drainage there that we're still dealing with as well.
So thank you for the explanation of the process,
I hope
Director.
that helps. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Chichot.
It helps that you guys are all concerned about the drainage as well as us, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank
No one
you.
wants to see anybody's property flooded, so thank you. But, you know, it's worth coming, it's worth expressing your concerns, for sure.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for the answers to the questions that have been made so far. I guess if we go back to the beginning, in any submissions that have happened, the one complaint we get from developers is the requirement of studies and securities. So I see in the application that's here before us that a number of studies, a very comprehensive number of studies have happened, but that's just the start. And I don't know who wants to agree and answer so that those online can hear. But the studies have all been completed by external consultants with professional designations that have attributed to this application. Is that correct?
Through Madam Chair, yes, that is correct.
And the holding of securities is a very normal thing. I just want to give further clarity to what it is that we demand in producing subdivision paperwork that is going to stop the subdivision if it gets out of line with the work that was committed to by the developer. Is that correct?
So yes, at the time of, if there is the approval of the draft plan of subdivision, and when all of those conditions are satisfied to the staff, there will be the responsibility of the owner to post securities as a deposit, and it will be there until some time when they are checked by staff that they have fulfilled what has been approved. Correct.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think that there were subdivisions in this community that were probably 18 years old before the subdivision was assumed, because we still had issues that we were concerned about, perhaps the top level of asphalt on the municipal road or something of that nature, but we're not one to give up money that we have in hand if we aren't satisfied with the work that's been done in a subdivision. Is that correct? Or condominium, whatever.
Yes, that is correct. So staff does have to be satisfied that everything has been fulfilled prior to release of any of the securities. And they may be done in installments, depending on what they're looking at and improving. But yes, that is correct.
Mistakes get made, but we've gotten better. And the mistakes, I would say, to any of you that are here, are that we protect completely the township and the people in it from issues that have not been resolved with a department. So we're at the beginning of a relationship with this developer on this particular development, and the initial studies have been made, and the deficiencies in those studies have been identified by staff and now by the members of the public that are here tonight. So now it's time, like with all construction, to go away and for staff to work with the developers to determine if there's issues or concerns that have to happen. I want to go to the rural residential kind of thing and the fact that 45 meters is the normal frontage. I'm not sure exactly how to multiply metric to feet, but those those bylaws and that expectation of width, sorry, my nose fell off, were established a number of years ago. And they're expecting that in rural areas, houses have more land or available to them on large lots, maybe farms. But in hamlets that were designed by municipalities and approved by regions and the province, they were seen to be future development. Am I correct, Ms. Smythe?
Yes, that would be correct.
So a 45-meter width, in my mind, is about 165 feet or more, because I'm not good at translation, and I didn't do it yet. 18 is probably closer to about 60, which is a very large lot in a municipality now, because developers are being forced to go to intensification, smaller lots, smaller footprints, trying to get more density into municipalities so we don't use as much agricultural land. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct.
So the idea of going from 45 meters to 18 in a hamlet, which is designed for growth, in an agricultural area out of our urban district, is actually, in my opinion, and only my opinion, a move towards something far more appealing to people who worry about the agricultural lands we have in this community. And I see that they're not great lands, they're good lands, good agricultural. But is that right? I mean, that's what we're going to be seeing in any area that's designed or designated for growth at this point in time with our current municipal and provincial governments?
I would suspect that is true, yes.
I should be asking this of the developer's agent, but I thought I would ask our own staff. But if you have any great, Madam Chair, if you have any, through you, if you have any great disagreement, you can certainly voice it. But so
I think he's ready to weigh in, Councillor.
I think so too.
So through the mayor, just with regards to the lot frontage, I would point out that while we're proposing 18 meters, it's not representative of the full width of the lot.
Oh, I understand.
And
I was
so-
getting
and-
to that.
And so we're still achieving the 1 acre lot minimum, and those lots on the far, I guess that would be east side, part of the frontage is also cut off from the stormwater management block, and so the width, functional width is still there. It's just the technical frontage requirement that's required to change, so.
I understand. You're killing me, but that's irrelevant. Okay, so the other thing that we have underway here, as we've seen in other hamlets like Wellandport, is the fact that much has happened to septic systems and water systems to allow for 1 acre to satisfy the need to put in a cistern and a septic system that may need a grinder or something that is going to safely process any kind of septic waste that is incurred in the individual lot. Am I correct? Like their seepage is not as much a problem.
Through you, Madam Mayor. So as part of the technical requirements, a hydrogeological assessment was a requirement, and that is conducted by a professional to, in fact, do that assessment in terms of the sufficient size and the types of septic systems that is appropriate for each of these lots. And you are correct, there are some areas that have smaller lots, and they are examined by a professional, and there are new types of tertiary systems. I'm not an engineer by any means, but I do understand that, or I have been aware that there are some new systems that can adequately support a private system on smaller lots, as what's being presented here tonight.
But the compromise on these lots, Madam Chair, if I might through you, is strictly at the front.
That is
So it still
correct.
provides, the lot still provides for the access and driveway, but the actual lot width is going to be more than satisfactory to those conditions, those new tertiary conditions that would be required. And these houses would have more up-to-date state-of-the-art types of sewage systems and would be required to get that than some of those that are in the area abutting them. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the fact that this is in a hamlet and that none of the houses are in outside of the hamlet was designed for future residential development. Am I correct? Madam Chair, sorry.
Yes, that is correct.
I just want to make that really clear because the hamlets throughout West Lincoln exist.
Yes.
Everywhere from Kimbo to, I don't even know all the names. I've lived here a long period of my life and I still don't know them all. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, I hope with what I've heard and what the questions I've asked is that we take great care in bringing any development. I guess you do, we don't. But our staff bring to us a very comprehensive plan for, first of all, the hamlets, which are very old. They've been around since God was a Boy Scout, and I apologize for the use of the vernacular, but we had chances to change those throughout the past 15 years that would have provided us eliminating some of the hamlets, but we left them, and they're there with the ability to attract development. Am I correct?
So yes, that is correct. And just on the onset, we do have our pre-consultation meetings, which is the first initial opportunity or chance for any proposal to come to staff's across our desk, just to see and weigh that against, yes, our official plan policies in terms of hamlet designations and such. So we were able to vet that through pre-consultation to get us to this point to present.
So I'm not one that takes new growth on easily, and I think that growth should match what it is that we have. So I wanted to make sure that we were making a very clear picture that in a hamlet of this size, this kind of imposition of new housing will go through a very rigorous set of documents that will lay out the scope of the drainage, the housing, the driveways, the roadways, and actually access onto a regional road. All of those things will be answered, and in the final report that we'll get back at some point with a recommendation from our staff on whether and what needs to be changed, or what we can as council ask for, we'll take into consideration all the questions, even those that we haven't seen, because we haven't seen some of the questions that were submitted. We as a committee will see those, we'll see the answers, the mitigation, and we will then make a decision as a committee on moving forward for letting this subdivision go. Am I correct, Madam Chair?
You're still speaking to
Sue.
our manager?
Sue,
Go ahead.
Yes.
Zan, sorry.
It's okay. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I am impressed by the number of studies that have already been done, as always, with the primary submission before you bring them forward. And so I look forward to seeing the other questions that were asked by some of the people who said they submitted them, and by seeing the mitigation factors you plan to impose, both yourself, Mr. DePaula, with the engineering, and the other agencies that will comment and review the mitigation factors. So this isn't the end, this is a start, and my mind is open to seeing how we can make everyone comfortable with how we move forward, whether it's drainage, traffic, noise, or environment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. So I'm going to go to the clerk because Councillor Riley has called in, but it's been varying. So do you happen to have him now, and does he have any questions or comments on this application that he wants, through you, to ask?
So through the chair, I don't know if Councilor Riley, I know you can hear me right now. You already voiced that you have no questions at this time, but appreciated the conversation being held. I just want to make sure that if you're able to use your microphone, if you could try now, just so we're aware on the future items to go to you through eScribe, or if we could go to you verbally. However, I know you were listening, so I guess I'll wait a second just to see if he can verbalize his response. And feel like that's maybe my answer. So I know he had said he's listening and he appreciated the conversation. He looks forward to the report. However, I don't think he can verbalize that right now. So he will vote through eScribe and he will be participating, but maybe just not verbally.
Okay. So I sympathize because I too had difficulty connecting during a meeting. So that is an issue. Technology is wonderful when it's working, not so wonderful when you're far away and you're not able to connect. So I'm going to conclude this by giving the following information. Please be advised that a technical report is being considered by this committee this evening. Please be advised also that once committee and/or council has made a decision with respect to the zoning bylaw amendment, and if approved by council, a notice of their passing will be circulated with an appeal period. So even though it was explained that this is only a technical meeting and a report will come back, even at that point, when that comes back, there still is an appeal period that follows that. So just so that you are aware. Okay, so if you wish to be notified of council's decision, please ensure that you email the township clerk, Justin Palov, at jpalov@westlincoln.ca. Additionally, I'm going to remind everyone as well to make sure that you have signed in. If you're interested in following this and you want to know what happens next, then make sure that you have signed in to this meeting, please. Anyone who is interested in observing council and/or committee discussions about a particular bylaw should not solely rely on mailed notices and thus potentially miss the opportunity to attend applicable meetings. It is suggested that you watch the township's website for the posting of agendas to review items that will be discussed at council and/or committee meetings. The agendas for meetings are posted on the township's website after 4 p.m. on the Friday prior to the meeting. Additionally, meeting schedules are also posted on the township's website for the public to view. If you wish to receive notices by email, it is suggested that you contact the township clerk to advise of your request and include your email address along with your mailing address and your phone number. So at this point, I will declare that this public meeting is over at the hour of 7:27. So thank you all. If you wish to leave, feel free. If you want to stay and hear what happens next, then you're quite willing. The rest of our meeting is going to continue. It's just the public meeting, not this meeting, the public meeting portion of this meeting has concluded. So Mr. Chappelle, if you still want to stay and listen and hear the rest, you're welcome to do that. Okay, so the public meeting portion is over, but there will be other opportunities. One more.
Yeah, so he's trying to raise his hand. I might just go for Kevin really quick.
Okay.
As people walk out.
Okay, so I'm going to ask members of council. The meeting continues, Rob. Okay. Okay. So ideas that you have, Mr. Chappelle? Ideas and things that you have, you can still forward to staff.
I will send to staff, and apologies for not sending to all.
Well, that doesn't matter because it all will come back to us eventually. So if you have further thoughts or ideas, you can still reach out to staff. Okay. 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 We've got everybody. Are you okay now with him?
I just don't think he'll be able. Kevin said he saw the hand raised, but.
Well, it is a frustration of not being in a meeting, right? So, okay, we're going to continue with our meeting. Excuse me, everyone. We are going to continue with the meeting. We still have lots of reports to get through. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our regular meeting now of all committees and council. I'm going to ask members of council if there are any changes in order of items on the agenda. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move to disclosures. ready? Of pecuniary interest and/or conflict of interest. And I'm going to announce at this time that I personally have a conflict with item 12.1, number 3. As I was absent from the public meeting because of my vacation, I am not able to vote on that item when it comes forward. Item number 7 is always an opportunity for members of the public to address items that are on a current agenda. So under 6.7, the public may make, oh, just wait a second. We might need to close over the door. Thank you, Councillor. Okay. Under item 6.7, there should be no comments from the public permitted at council unless A, a specific appointment has been scheduled, or B, an item is included under the other business or communications or appointments section of the agenda and relates to a matter which would normally be dealt with at committee. So I'm going to ask if there are any members of the public present who wish to address a specific item on this evening's agenda as permitted under 6.7 of the procedural bylaw. So is there anyone present who is here to address an item that's on our agenda? And once again, Kevin, is there anyone online?
Not seeing any,
No.
Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Okay. So there are no appointments or presentations this evening, although I'll speak to an issue about that at communication. And we have 9.1, which is Councillor Maychak, the council minutes from June 23rd, and you have the resolution, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, moved by myself that the minutes relating to the June 23rd, 2025 council meeting and the recommendations contained herein be accepted.
Thank you. And someone to second those minutes, please? Councillor Chichok. Are there any questions or comments about these particular minutes? Okay. And seeing none, the vote should be in front of you. Oop, there we go. If he's read the minutes, he can vote.
Yeah, I read the minutes.
Then you can vote. It's just the minutes. Okay, good. Okay. And that resolution carries. Okay. So under communications, we have an issue related to excuse me.
6-0, and we're missing 2 counts. Oh, did Councillor,
He was able to
is he
vote
still, is he
online.
back now?
No, well, he's able to vote. He's on e-scribe. He's able to vote. He's not able to communicate with us.
Okay, that's great.
We've now learned, but he is able to listen through and vote accordingly. Okay, so regarding Kaylee, Lexi, and Soraya Killens, who happen to be granddaughters of one of our employees, Lyle Killens, and his wife Janet. And so, Councillor Frederick, you have the resolution, and then I would actually just like to speak to it a little bit, please, when you're finished.
Yes, I do. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself, 1, that the correspondence received by Kim Killens on July 2nd, 2025, regarding the World Jump Rope Championships be accepted, and 2, that council support Kaylee, Lexi, and Sarah in their competition.
Thank you. And someone to second that resolution, please. Councillor Maychak, thank you. So before we take a vote on that, I just want to say that when the email came from Kim Killens, we did invite the girls to come to council this evening so that we could wish them well and so on. However, they have a very vital practice tonight. They have 3 major practices left before they actually leave to go to Japan. And so they did come in to council to the administration building today, not into the chambers, but into the room next door where we often meet, because there were 4 of them, and my office, as you know, is too small for 4 plus me. The girls are really excited about going. They each explained what they were doing. And what we did today was give them each some pins, some township pins, to be able to take and trade. And additionally, I had left from another occasion a lot of Canada pins, which I also gave them, thinking that they might also like. There are 1,300 athletes taking part in this competition in Japan. They are there, leaving soon, and there for about 17 days. They come home the day before our next council meeting. Whether they're too tired to come or whether they're excited and want to come, I said that we would accept them either way to hear how they make out at that event. And so we may or may not see them in August, if not in August, in September, to hear how they've done. So we did have Beth take a picture today so that we have a picture of the girls before they go that can also be used to advertise a bit. Okay. Councillor Broderick, your resolution, so you call.
Thank you. I had a question through you, Madam Mayor, to the clerk. We had a previous young individual that we supported going off to, I think, Estonia for some jiu-jitsu, some kind of martial arts. Did we as a township contribute financially in regards to our support, or was that in our voiced support?
I actually can answer that because we did present a check, but it was from Kiwanis.
Okay. I remember there being a check,
Yes,
but
yes.
I wasn't sure.
So the township
Okay.
did not, but Kiwanis did.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
That's my only question.
Councillor Maychak.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I saw through the background they're competing with the jump stations. Is that correct?
They started with
The Lincoln Leapers.
Leapers, and then moved on once their skill level reached. They're also all now in their mid to late teens, so I think they've moved on to a different competitive area. I don't know the details of that, but
I just wanted to pass on through the clerk that pass on my information because I chair an athletic trust fund and would be more than happy to support their club and their efforts to compete, representing not only this community but the Jump Station
Wonderful.
organization. Be more
Wonderful.
than happy to help.
okay, that's great news. I'm sure they would be happy to hear that news. Thank you. Councillor Chichon.
Madam Mayor, this isn't what I was going to answer, but just in looking at the submission, it says, please visit Jump Station's Rope Skipping Club, which is where they're competing, they do local training. And as far as their work, I've always felt that it was one of the things that we could do better. Now, this town has never established how we would celebrate, whether it's a minor hockey group or whether it's someone going to compete, and how we would celebrate each of those young people out there doing wonderful things. But certainly I would like to say that I think this council is so proud of every one of the young people that comes in to tell us about where they're going and what they're doing and what they're competing in, and that we see the pride on their faces, whether it's a local house league hockey tournament or a major competition globally. So I'm glad, Councillor Maychuk, that you have that opportunity to give them support. I'm glad that the mayor has given them pins, because on these exchanges, the opportunity to give your pin to someone else half a world away is greatly, greatly appreciated. So to the girls, I think our best wishes and support for their endeavors, and we want to keep track of them so that we can put them on our local social media, if nothing else. But I think that they as we say, go, be safe, and come home.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? I see we have a hand up. Is there an ability for Councillor Riley to, I'm not sure. Maybe not. Okay, we keep trying, but, okay. All right. We don't want him to think we're ignoring him. There's just no ability, it seems, to be able to connect at this point in time. But I'm sure he also would be offering his support to these girls who are heading off, so. Good, okay. Please do. The vote should be in front of you, showing support for.
William just texted me supports it.
Okay. That he seems to be able to do. It's very strange that. Good. Okay. So keep in touch, and we'll let him keep voting and doing what he needs to do whenever he can. Okay. So that takes us on then to my remarks. That's not what he wants to second, I'm sure. Okay. So my remarks for July 14th, and we didn't have Regional Councilor Woodavine this evening, as you noticed. So since it's not been a full month since our June 23rd council meeting, my remarks are somewhat shorter tonight. Representing West Lincoln, I attended an AMO webinar regarding communication strategies for mayors and CAOs during a community disaster that would necessitate the EOC being enacted. I also attended an economic development event sponsored by the West Lincoln, Grimsby, and Hamilton Chambers of Commerce, and hosted by Gabe DeSantis in the DeSantis corporate headquarters showroom area. Speakers on the topic of economic development during the time in which we now find ourselves were from both the Niagara region and Hamilton. Councillor Chichok and our Manager of Legislative Services, Justin Palov, representing our CAO, were also in attendance. It was my pleasure, along with MP Dean Allison and MPP Sam Osterhoff, to bring greetings to those in attendance at our Canada Day event. Staff did an excellent job in pulling this event together for so many West Lincoln families to enjoy. Thank you to all staff involved in organizing this day, and to the West Lincoln Fire Department for entertaining, as always, the many kids of all ages, and I stress all ages because I think many of the dads are just as interested in looking at fire apparatus up close and also chatting with firefighters. Thank you also to our communication specialist, Beth Audette, for capturing in photos so many wonderful moments as the community celebrated being Canadian at the West Lincoln Leisureplex. There certainly were lots of positive comments on social media about this year's Canada Day event. Summer camp is now in full swing at our community centre, but I was able to attend, along with 3 members of the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee, one of the camp leader training sessions during the end of June. MIAC has entered into an informal agreement with camp staff to have attendees participate in our corporate greeting card competition for 2025. Rainy day activities, and perhaps even a Christmas in July theme, will hopefully provide budding young West Lincoln artists with materials and ideas for entry creations. CAO McBride and I also met this past week with a member of the St. Anne's Community Church leadership team to discuss potential possibilities for partnering to enhance community activities and support identified community needs. A good news story has come to my attention regarding the region's compost donation and food drive event this past May. In exchange for non-perishable food items or cash donations, residents were able to collect up to 3 20-liter bags of compost just in time for gardening season. During that week of May 5th to 10th, in exchange for 2,100 bags of compost, residents generously donated $2,245 and 520 kilograms of food to 6 local organizations, one of which was West Lincoln Community Care. This is such a great example of a win-win situation whereby the composted brush does not take up landfill space, people are able to acquire compost if needed, and local food banks benefit as well. On Friday, July 11th, I attended as both a volunteer and a donor at our local blood donor clinic. Over the past few years, the Canadian Blood Services Clinic has had to move locations for a variety of reasons. I would like to thank our Director of Community and Protective Services, Cynthia Summers, for recognizing this clinic as a desirable and much-needed event in our community, and also for her proactive work in securing a regular home for our local blood donation clinics at our community centre. Donors on Friday were extremely pleased to have this clinic located in the gym area, as it is bright and airy, climate-controlled, and easily accessible to both members of our community and others from outside of West Lincoln who book online appointments to donate. What's more, the staff of Canadian Blood Services were also very pleased to be able to set up and collect the much-needed blood in this favorable location. My final remarks this evening are in regard to our CAO, Mr. Trooper McBride, who has just this weekend marked being with the Township of West Lincoln for 1 year. Trooper accepted this important role in our corporate organization and has readily made his presence known in an extremely positive manner. We have come to greatly appreciate his friendly yet professional manner in dealing with our council, all levels of West Lincoln staff, members of the public, including our business and development communities, and his CAO colleagues and senior staff at the region. Moving forward, my promise is to no longer introduce you, Trooper, as our new CAO, but simply West Lincoln CAO. So, thank you for your year. We didn't give him one new gray hair, none. Okay. So moving on to reports of committee, we have 12.1 is the Growth and Sustainability Committee. Manager of Community and Planning Design, Susan Smythe, and Senior Planner, Robin Shugan. It's an information report, PD 16-2025, zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision for 7283 Regional Road 20, the Joshua Court subdivision. So, Councillor
Thank you, Madam
Chichar,
Chair. I'll move that.
You have that, and actually, we already know from Councillor Riley that he'd like to second it.
He can
So-
go right ahead and do that, but you
Go
read
ahead.
the motion, so you can.
No, the motion is yours. Go ahead.
Well, to repeat, and I do love following you, although you usually don't leave me too many words to say. So moved by myself, the information report PD 16-2025 titled Zoning Bylaw Amendment and Draft Plan of Subdivision for 7283 Regional Road 20, Joshua Court subdivision dated July 14th be received.
Okay, thank you. So are there any comments further to the ones that we've already asked about this particular report? Or any questions for staff about this report? Okay, so seeing none, we're ready for a vote.
Excuse me.
Okay, and that resolution carries. So number 2 on that item is the Manager, Community Planning and Design, Susan Smythe, and Director, Growth and Sustainability, Garrett Borma. Recommendation report PD-26-2025. It's a recommendation report update regarding Elite Smithville Developments, Inc., zoning bylaw amendment, file number 1601-009-24, and draft plan of subdivision, file number 2000-94-24. And Councillor Machak, you have that resolution, please.
Through you, Madam Mayor, moved by myself, 1, that recommendation report PD 26-2025, titled Recommendation Report Update, Elite Smithville Developments, Inc., zoning bylaw amendment, file number 1601-009-24, and draft plan of subdivision, file number 2000-94-24, dated July 14th, 2025, be received. And 2, that application for zoning bylaw amendment, file number 1601-009-24, to change the development D zone to site-specific medium-density RM3 and high-density RH residential open space OS, environmental protection EP, low-density R3 withholding provision, and development D zone be approved in accordance with the amending zoning bylaw and schedule contained in Schedule A to this report, and that council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the bylaw. And 3, that application for draft plan of subdivision, file number 2000-94-24, be approved in accordance with the provisions of the Planning Act, RSO 1990, Chapter P13, and regulations thereunder, subject to draft plan approval conditions contained in Schedule B to this report. And lastly, 4, that the owner applicant is advised the township's draft approval of this plan of subdivision will lapse 3 years from the date of approval unless Township Council grants an extension of the approval period prior to the lapsing date. If an extension is requested, an updated review will occur, and revisions to the conditions of the draft plan approval may be necessary at that time.
So welcome to having to read a long resolution. No longer the new guy on council, you get it full force. You know that this is clerk staff that assign those, so.
The CAO might be no longer new, but I'm still new at least for another 3 months.
Okay. So I need someone to second that. Councillor Chichar, thank you. Are there any questions or comments about this resolution? Okay, so I see none, so I guess we're ready to vote. Oh, well, you didn't have your hand up, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. This was the one that was up last month with regards to parking spaces, am I correct?
Yes, did you read the report? It
Yes,
indicates
so
that
we're
they,
I know that there was things
Right.
that were done.
yeah, it was the one
I
that
know-
people had lots of questions about. You were absolutely right. But it has been resolved to.
I just want the public who may be watching this, if you don't mind, through you, maybe to the director or to Ms. Smythe, if they could just, because I know that was a strong issue that was discussed last month. For those who are listening, just an update with regards to the problems and concerns we had with adequate parking.
I think most of the concerns were members of council, but you're right. Go ahead.
Through the mayor to Councilor Rayner, so the applicants have dropped their requested amendments and variances to the parking ratio, and they've agreed to provide the required parking for this development, so that request has been dropped.
Okay. Thank you. Councilor Chichok.
I wasn't going to speak to this, Madam Mayor, because elsewhere in the materials distributed to us today, we looked at what activities bylaws have been undertaking for the past 6 months. And the number one issue that bylaws have been required to pay attention to, where they spent most of their time, is with parking.
Always parking.
And the issue for us is that as lots get smaller, as I spoke earlier, and intensification happens, and people stay in the house that they thought they were going to leave after their first child, that child and the two others are all driving age and have cars. So it's not us that are going to feel the issue of this, but down the road, someone will. So I'm very glad. The fact that this development was done with underground parking, which is very costly, I'm very happy to hear that they amended their method of going forward to listen to us and to solve the issue of parking.
Thank you. I think we're all very relieved that the issue of parking has been resolved, so thank you very much.
So whether it was councilors or whatever, I guess we were.
Doesn't matter.
We were
Parking is a
there
major
we were
issue.
there for the future, and in case I'm still here when those 16-year-olds are driving.
Second time, Councilor Rayner?
Yeah, thank you. No, it was just something, and I remember Councilor Riley brought it up. He said, well, we're bringing it up, but we're the ones that are going to get the fallout if this is done, and everybody's going to be upset because it's inadequate parking. So I'm just going through this now to prevent this from happening in the future. I remember he said that. So there was, I know you said council, but there are in the interest, because if it doesn't work, it's the public that gets back to us, so we're going to get it anyway. So we are looking after the best interests of the public to prevent this from happening in the future, much the same as the discussion on drainage was to prevent that problem in the other one in the future. So thanks.
Exactly. Thank you. Okay. We're good? Mr. Clerk. Okay, and that also carries. So number 3, Manager, Community Planning and Design, Susan Smythe, and Director, Growth and Sustainability, Garrett Borma, Recommendation Report PD-27-2025, Zoning Bylaw Amendment for 171 Mill Street, file number 1601-003-25 for Legion Villa Senior Residence. And I will remind members of the public that this is the item for which I have a conflict. Councillor Broderick, you have the resolution.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Moved by myself that recommendation report PD 27-2025, titled Recommendation Report Zoning Bylaw Amendment for 171 Mill Street, file number 1601-003-25, dated July 14, 2025, for Legion Villa Senior Residence be received, and 2, that application for zoning bylaw amendment file number 1601-003-25 to modify the institutional, in brackets, 1-19 zone with additional site-specific provisions contained in Schedule B be approved in accordance with the attached amending zoning bylaw and schedule, and that Council authorize the mayor and clerk to sign the necessary bylaw.
Thank you. Someone to second that resolution, please. Councillor Maychak? Any discussion on this item? Okay, so again, I will remind you that I have a conflict and will not be voting, but the vote will be in front of you. So just for any members of the public who wonder, if you do not attend a public meeting and listen to both sides of an event, such as the public meeting we had earlier this evening, then you cannot vote when that item comes before you at council. And so as per our procedural bylaw, that resolution passes, but I did not vote. Okay, that takes us to Operations Committee. Are we going to switch places? Mike, you're already there, so you're good. Okay. I thought we might be doing the rotation of places for a minute. So item number 1 under 12.2 is Director of Infrastructure Mike DePaula, recommendation report 0, I think that's supposed to be O-16 2025, response to participation request, Niagara Region Automated Speed Enforcement, or ASE program expansion. And Councillor Maychak, you have the resolution.
Moved by myself that recommendation report O-16 2025 titled Response to Participation Request, Niagara Region Automated Speed Enforcement ASC Program Expansion dated June 9th, 2025 be received, and that Council direct administration to notify Niagara Region that the Township of West Lincoln will not participate in the ASC program expansion for 2026, but will reassess the potential benefits of participation in future program phases.
Thank you. Someone to second that. Councillor Chichot. Director, would you like to speak to that first?
Okay, thank you. Through the mayor to members of committee and council. Back in 2024, Niagara Region implemented the automated speed enforcement program, and then their regional council approved to expand that program. And in 2025, there was more cameras that were included throughout the region, and they were rotating. This time, regional council expanded the program to the local area municipalities to see if they had any interest in installing automated speed enforcement cameras on their local road system. There will only be 4 cameras that will be expanded to the local road system. So right now, regional staff are looking for expressions of interest from municipalities to see if they want to participate in this program. And for the reasons outlined in the report, staff is recommending, staff is recommending that we don't really participate in the 2026. Let's see what how that program rolls out with the other local area municipalities, because there is some requirements for township and city staff to just help with the automated speed enforcement program. And plus, just looking at the landscape across the region, these automated speed enforcement programs need to be implemented near community safety zones. And here in West Lincoln, I think it's best if we just sit back for a year to see how the other local area municipalities deal with it and consider this expanded program in the future. But administration is not recommending that we participate in 2026.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Councilor Rayner?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Through the Director, thank you for a report. I appreciate and I agree with what you're saying. I was talking to a few councilors from Pelham last week, and they voted to have the cameras removed from Pelham. They said it's getting out of hand. It's getting rather ridiculous. There are people getting tickets now for 3 kilometers over the speed limit. They're saying, let's be reasonable, let's be practical, and since it's not, they voted to have the cameras removed. So it got to the point where they were getting a little bit ridiculous with what the limitations were. I mean, 3 kilometers, and they said that's just not acceptable. So they said, and I was quite surprised that they did it, because everybody's so much in favor of these speed cameras. But they said if they're used properly, but the region's not, so we don't want them. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. So I agree. Let's see what happens with this and see what other municipalities are doing, and we can judge from that based on other people's experience instead of learning the painful way. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone further? Councilor Chichot.
Well, Madam Mayor, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but this is probably one of the things that I hear most about, and that is that the speed cameras are there. People know it, and that it isn't. There's a very fine margin for before you are charged, and certainly their behavior is being modified. Some people are telling me they're going 40 everywhere now. I said that's just great. Don't worry about it, except on the country roads. And so I really do think I have been constantly concerned about Regional Road 65, Silver Street, wherever, and Port Davidson, and the fact that we cannot get any kind of traffic calming that would stop the robustness with which motorcycles, transport trucks, and cars go along Regional 65. But not just there. Throughout the entirety of the rural areas, we are getting speeding occurring. So people are infiltrating. I think that's the word that traffic people use, infiltrating other ways to avoid the speed cameras, and that's to go around Smithville. And while my heart jumps for that because it says that's where most of the kids are and that's where it'll happen, it isn't great when you see that excessive speed occurring in the rural areas. So somehow I think there's a certain amount of frustration, anger, upset, whatever, but the speed in the outlying areas has not changed. And if we need to do something to do responsible driving in the township, it's not just inside of Smithville. And for that, I say, if the speed cameras are contributing to it, I totally agree with the motion we're putting on the floor. I too have talked with people in Pelham where the speed cameras are on Highway 20, and I don't think you can go much over 40 anyway in that area.
You go 40 through there for sure.
But you know, I am truly hearing, and I mean truly hearing from people that we may have one thing under control, but very rigidly under control, as Councillor who are you? Rayner has said, and I really would hope that we are going to open our minds and look to how we resolve some of the speeding that happens throughout the community.
So I do know in response to Regional 65 that we have the region looking at that again. There was another accident on the weekend, as you're probably well aware, the next concession.
Madam Mayor, I hear the bump and I worry, and it was a motorcycle too,
Yeah.
and it was not pleasant.
So the region are being bothered about that quite a lot and are examining it. But it might be to our director that even if our resolution passes tonight, that we look next year when we're ready to look at what we're doing about our own road safety, that we look at something like that, whatever we are able to impose ourselves. It's a regional road. We'd have to be able to do that in conjunction with the region, but we are trying to get on top of that for sure. Thank you.
Understood.
Councillor Maychak.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Mike, in terms of any studies or data where, especially community safety zones where there's schools, has there been a reduction? Because if it does save one child's life, I see the benefit of the cameras, even though none of us like to pay for tickets. But people tend to modify their behavior knowing they're going to get ticketed if caught by the camera. So just a question in regards to data and whether or not there has been a reduction in accidents, in particular as it applies to children.
Yeah, through the mayor to Councillor Maychuk, there has been a number of reports because that Niagara Region administration staff has provided to Niagara Regional Council. So if you go on their website, there are a lot of reports that talk about the benefits of implementing an initiative like this. And I believe last month I also provided a memo to council that laid out all those different reports that talk about the benefits of initiating a program like that. So like this. So yeah, there is data out there. It's information that was presented to the regional council. So you could always refer to their website or the recent memo that was distributed to Township Council last month. That information is there.
But generally, that is. Now, I think one of the reasons, if I can speak to this too, that it came about with the region looking at is because of the requests from the cities in particular, who are really looking at some areas in St. Catharines, in Welland, in Niagara Falls, that they're not necessarily community safety zones, but they certainly are very problematic in those areas. So I think that was probably initiated mainly by them. So, Councillor Bradrick.
Through you, Mayor, just a quick question to the director. Would it be around this time of the year in 2026 that you would bring this back to us as a council for our consideration in participation at that time?
I don't know the exact timing, but I would assume it would probably be around this time. Something else to note, there's like an agreement that the region has with all the local area municipalities for this initiative, and I think that agreement is coming up shortly. So Niagara Region staff that run this road safety initiative, they do plan on making the rounds to all the local council later on this year in the fall. So, you know, your question as well, some other questions that I heard from council today would probably be best to have regional staff answer those questions. So just kind of a preview that they will be coming around to talk about re-entering this road safety initiative agreement that we currently have with them. So
So perhaps another question that would be better asked to the group when they come back. Approximately how long of a time frame, if we were to want more cameras in 2026, would we see those out in the community? Was there any kind of timeline discussed if we were to add more this time around? I'm just wondering, with next year being an election year, I just want to have my thoughts around how long that would take to complete.
The way I understand the program, it all depends how many people want to participate. And then what they'll do is they'll rotate the cameras with all the different municipalities that want to participate. I'm not sure if that's what you're asking. So it would depend, right? If there's only 4 cameras and 4 municipalities want to participate, then I think it's safe to say every municipality will have a camera all year round, right from the beginning of the year. Versus if there's only 4 cameras and there's 8 locations, then they would rotate it. Is that what you're asking in a roundabout way?
Yeah, in a roundabout way, but I think I answered my own question when I said that perhaps maybe that'll be a better question to ask when the group comes by. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anything further on that? Councillor Chichok again?
Tell them on the drive here to obey the speed limits, please.
Okay.
Chuckle.
I think by the time you got your microphone on, that perhaps it got missed, but that's okay. Okay, we're ready. You got everybody? No, we didn't have everybody. Okay. We now do. That resolution carries. Okay, so moving on then to 12.3, that takes us to Community and Protective Services Committee. We need to do some switching, I think, perhaps, unless, Tim, you just move up? Do you want Zoe to move up as well? We can nicely boot Garrett out of his spot for now, or Mike, so that you two are able to be. And Jessica, you're up next, so maybe you want to move up as well, do you? Okay, so under Community and Protective Services, we have our fire report, Fire Chief Tim Hofsink. Information report WLFD-06-2025, a monthly update for June of 25. Chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm going to let you speak, then we'll get the resolution on the floor on purpose, because I'm assuming you want to make an introduction.
I do. Thank you. So today, Council and Mayor, we have our new Deputy Fire Chief, Zoli Rakenjak, is with us for his first day. So we're really pleased to be at full strength and looking forward to working with Zoli and moving forward with Wesleyan Fire.
Thank you. Now I'll move to the resolution, but we'll come back to you. Okay, thank you. Joanne. Councillor Chichok, you have that resolution.
Madam Mayor. Moved by myself that information report titled Monthly Update, June 2025, dated July 14th, 2025, be received for information.
Thank you. Councillor Riley would like to get on this agenda too and second that. So
I think so, yes.
I'm hearing from our clerk that we have a seconder. Any questions or comments about this report? Councillor Chichok.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, or Madam Chair. Earlier in the year, when it was so very hot, and I'm not sure whether we're still doing it, but we had an exercise for children to get into the splash pad and stuff. I have to say that today has been very hard on a number of people, even with air conditioning, as far as breathing. And I'm wondering that, I mean, I'm lucky. I have an air-conditioned car and an air-conditioned house. But even that, I was outside for some time and found the air to be very, very heavy. What about the people that don't have air conditioning? Is there a place, and it may not be the fire departments, but just like we did with the kids and the splash pads, is there something we can suggest that might assist others who are having problems with breathing because of the heaviness of the smoke in the air? Through you, Madam Chair.
Through you, Madam Chair. I don't believe that we officially have any cooling centers in West Lincoln established at this time. There are municipalities within Niagara that do have cooling centers set up. We do, I believe, have some public buildings that are air-conditioned within West Lincoln, including our libraries, which I presume would be available for this purpose. But as far as any official centers that are set up, we don't officially have that. In regards to the event in which we had some of our apparatus and firefighters set up for the children, I'm pretty happy to announce that we are having another one of those events. It's scheduled for tomorrow evening. We've expanded it a little bit to include a location in Caister Centre. So there will be one, I believe it's at the Caister Public Library. I think there's a small park attached to that. So there will be an apparatus there with some staff that will be there to cool the kids off. And we've got 2 locations in Smithville as well that are happening. I don't believe they're at exactly the same time, but there's one park on the west side of town, and there's one on the south end of town that we will be attending as well. So as far as the cooling centers go, there are some conversations that are happening with Emergency Management West Niagara, in which we're looking at whether that would be a viable opportunity for us to pursue here for people that may not have air conditioning, but it hasn't been established at this point yet.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair, I really am concerned about people with adult asthma who've, because of number of bouts with pneumonia or whatever, they don't have somewhere to go. And if we are going to have conditions which is driving the smoke from northern Ontario, if we can believe it, or Winnipeg or wherever it's coming from, or up from the States, because I know that came too, or at least drove the weatherman said that something was coming from there. There's no tariff though. So the issue for me is it's the smoke now, and it is getting heavier. So what can we do? Because we do have fire stations. We have a fire station in the west. We do have our buildings and our recreation center. And even if that's a cooling center, or maybe it has to have a special condition to have that, but all of our buildings have rather large generators. They have air conditioning, and it's something I'm not saying do it, please, because it would take my colleagues, but I'm asking for thought to be given, because this is very unusual. And looking outside, it's just that it's 38 degrees and it's got smoke in the air, and people are struggling to breathe. So I did have one person call and ask where they could take their person. And I said, well, I think the recreation center's open. But, if there's a definite breathing problem, they should go to the local hospital, which is not where they need to go. They just need, to have some place where they can get a better quality of air. So to help us to say the right things and to help direct people to you, and you have the right thing, I think, Madam Director and everyone else need to think about this really seriously.
Our CAO wanted to weigh in too.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will now stop.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And through you, so Council is aware, Ms. Dyson is going to be attending a municipal exchange on heat waves to action, municipal planning for extreme heat in Ontario. That's something that she had circulated earlier last week. So we are going to be going to that, and any notes and learnings that we can bring back and see what we can do to implement in West Lincoln. Any recommendations we will bring back to Council.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments? I just want to make one then before I let you go. I was really saddened but happy at the same time to read in your report about Tom Bushy and Dave Pyatt retiring. I remember when Station 2 was begun, and they were among the beginning very young at that time volunteers. And so I just publicly wanted to thank them for their service as well. And hopefully they will, you'll pass that on, but hopefully somebody will tune in and tell them as well that council has very much acknowledged the time that they've given to our community. So thank you. All right, I think then we're ready for that. Okay, and that takes us to 12.4, which is our Corporate Services Committee, and Director of Legal and Legislative Services, Jessica Dyson, Re-Information Report, LLS-06-2025, which is a bylaw enforcement services mid-year update. So, Councillor Broderick, you have that resolution?
Yes, Madam Mayor. That information report, LLS-06-2025, titled Bylaw Enforcement Services Mid-Year Update, dated July 14, 2025, be received.
Thank you. And someone to second that, please? Councillor Chichot? All right. Are there any questions or comments about this report? Councillor Chichot?
This is where I got my number of parking infractions. This is where I got the number of reported infractions that were pursued by our bylaw officer. But really, I think that with the number of infractions, I was quite delighted that most were resolved, and that the number seems to be down from what I understand in the past. So I'm quite pleased with what we've done and how much of the how many of the infractions are actually coming in with voluntary compliance, or at least some sort of consensus out there. There's still problems, but we're doing a very good job at this. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone further? Did you want to say anything, Director? It sounds like you have no questions, but you might want to make a comment.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, or Madam Mayor, to the rest of Council, yes, thank you for reviewing this report. It's just a high-level review of our bylaw service department. So thank you to my bylaw officer, our bylaw officer, who provided me with this information to provide in this report for everybody. I think it's a great way to provide that level of transparency to members of Council, as well as the members of the public, and to remind everyone that we do have a one-person show in our enforcement division who handles both enforcement and administration. So just another level of transparency for everybody, and happy for it to be brought forward.
So I just have a question in terms of this style of report. Is this what we'll be receiving moving forward?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. I liked it. I just wasn't certain whether this was just an interim and there would still be others, but this certainly satisfies what we need to know as members of council about what's going on in the community. So thank you. Okay, so I guess we can vote on that report as well.
Your Worship, if we might, I just didn't understand what BWOP was, and I probably should know, but is that like bring your own chair or something? BWOP.
No, it's a good
There was
question.
two of them.
Okay,
And if
so
you
did
bring,
have a question further. Okay.
sorry, it just came to me
That's
that I had a question mark on the report, but
So do you have the page number?
it's on page 3. It's on page 3, and if we don't know, it's not a big deal.
No, I'm sorry. Garrett has actually kindly provided me with that information, so thank you, Garrett. It is building without a permit.
I hate acronyms.
Thank
Okay,
you for that
you.
question.
Okay. So we're good now? We're ready to vote? Okay. And that also carries. So we have nothing to reconsider this evening, and there's no notice of motion to rescind, which takes us to number 15, other business, members of council. And I'm going to start with you, Councillor Rayner. Do you have something this evening that you want to bring up? Okay, thank you. Councillor Sheetalk, anything this evening?
Your Worship, I attended a few things over the time, but I think you've covered them in your remarks, and so I will leave. I think we've discussed that there has been a lot of activity in West Lincoln, and a lot of people participated and had great fun at Canada Day and learning about economic development in this municipality and across the region. So we'll leave it at that.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Braderick.
Yes, I have two things, Madam Mayor. Just a reminder about this Wednesday's music market with the Fiddlesticks. I'm not sure what genre of music that they give us, but I'm sure it'll be a fun evening. And just a quick shout out to our hardworking staff who do not have the luck of working in an air-conditioned setting, and that are working out in the hot heat, especially after the last couple of weeks. So our Parks and Rec and our Public Works, we think about you and the hard work that they're doing to keep this municipality working, and knowing that it's not easy conditions. I have a little gift to give to the directors for that staff for their next tailgate parties. So I'll be passing those off to you after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to welcome our new staff person. Congratulations, and congratulations to our CEO. Just echo your thoughts. What a great job you've done in the first year. Look forward to working with you in the future. I had the pleasure of hanging out with a number of my neighbors this past week, and they were complimenting the great camp program that's being ran and how much fun their kids are having, and they feel that they're very safe. So I just want to commend the staff. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. So as to Fiddlesticks, they did play last year, and they were well received. They play a variety of music styles and types, and unfortunately last year they were one of the groups that had to be moved inside because of the rainy weather. So hopefully this week they're able to play outside.
Yes, Madam Mayor, through you, I can confirm that they do country, Celtic, and rock. That is there. They have a few genres, yeah.
They do, they do. They were very entertaining last year, so hopefully the same will be true. So it's Wednesday, there's a market, right? And I don't know if there's anything in the parket this year, but if the weather's good, often people will bring out their older vehicles and fun vehicles for people to look at.
Yes, through the mayor again, or to the mayor again. Yes, there are some cars coming out as well, and yes, our first market, park it.
Good.
Music market, park it.
Takes a while to get that rolling off your tongue. I had to
know.
practice myself. So anyway. Okay, so we'll leave it at that then. So there are no new items of business and no confidential matters. So that takes us to bylaws. And Councillor Chichok, you have bylaws.
I do, Madam Mayor, and while the detail of what the bylaws stand for are included in our agenda, the item I have to read is moved by myself, that leave be granted to introduce bylaws 2025-44, 2025-45, 2025-46, 2025-47, 2025-48, and 2025-49, and that the same shall be considered to have been read a first, second, and third time with one reading and are hereby adopted, and that the mayor and clerk be and are hereby authorized to sign and fix the corporate seal thereto, any rule of this council to the contrary notwithstanding.
Okay, thank you. And someone to second bylaws. Councillor Braderick, you didn't have to read them, so you're going to second them. Thank you. All right. Any questions or comments about the bylaws? Councillor Rayner?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I know the region has set population growth for different municipalities, and ours is supposed to double by 2051, but when I look at these bylaws, I think we've taken this a little too literally. Like bylaw 46 and 48 is authorizing marriage licenses. Like we've got both the deputy clerk and the clerk doing it because there's so many people in line they can't keep up with it. I think it's a little carried away. I don't think the region meant that literally. I think they meant, they can move in, they can move out from Hamilton, or you don't have to self-populate yourself. So It just seemed a little funny to see both, but this is my humor for the night anyways.
That is an interesting bit of humor, because as you well know, if somebody isn't here, somebody else needs to be able to authorize it if someone comes in for a license. But
Yeah,
thank you for
it's
the
just a
humor.
very unusual bylaw right now, that's all. Thank you.
Many of them are unusual at given times, but thank you. Okay, so I think we're ready to vote on bylaws in spite of that humor. And so the bylaws also pass, which moves us to an adjournment at the hour of 8:25.